This conference will now be recorded.
You wasted my good evening. Good evening, everyone. Time being 4:45, I'd like to call this meeting on November 16th, 2023 to order. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, this is a budget meeting with a few little extras thrown in at the end with the non-public, but primarily it is for budget. We have Tim with a brief synopsis of the budget. So if you want to start.
Right into it. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So first of all, let me slide over to. So I have just a really quick slideshow to go through with you, and on your desk you'll find an updated budget, because in the iteration that was sent out the other day, there were some pretty big errors and omissions in it, and I'll cover those. So just very briefly, we're looking at right now the way the budget's formatted, $509,000 increase, or 8.9%. And that's primarily in the areas of PD staffing, DPW staffing, and then the related costs associated with personnel. So recall that last year we had the Warren article to increase wages. So those became part of the regular budget from that point forward. So that's why you're seeing an increase in the PD staffing. I do expect that as the chief is making offers to people for open positions, we'll be updating some of the wage scales that are existing from the prior positions in here. And I would expect that depending upon whether he has new uncertified people or experienced people, that we'll probably see a decrease in the wages line. In the DPW crews wages, this is related to the recycling staff, and the director is here to talk a little bit more about his plans. And then along with those increases in PD staffing, as I mentioned, were the personnel related items, as well as in DPW. In addition, there's additional money for sidewalk construction for next year within this budget. And then there's slight increase in principal and long-term bonds. And the elections for next year. We have 4 elections. And in the prior iteration, we had a listing of 3 elections. So updating this without purchasing a new scanner machine or voting machine, we're looking at an increase of about $20,100 across the various election lines to account for those 4 elections. Hall Library has an increase, DPW retirement, building repairs, which you'll hear about shortly, and then the interest for short-term interest for our TAN for this next year. As you know, we were going from 3.75 up to 5.25, and I'll be discussing a little bit the cash flow issue later, and the pressure that puts on our short-term interest payments. And then finally, the last item that was just over 10,000 is listed there as well in salary line. As for decreases, they were fewer. I selected the ones over $4,000. Town hall maintenance and repairs was reduced by $63,500. There was the completion of encumbrances from the prior year. So that was all the weapons that we purchased and traded in. We had encumbered $11,000 from 22, so that was completed. The copier, that was encumbered from 22, that was completed, so those no longer appear. Economic development was reduced by half, $7,500, and left primarily for beautification. PD electricity was reduced based on consumption and history. Administrative consulting outside contracts was reduced to $1 since we have not been spending that money, and it was allocated for one particular contract this last year, I believe. And then animal control, we reduced that significantly. This is the pay per use item where it's $100 per event. And in fact, year to date, we've spent nothing in 2023. So this is reduced from 6,000 in 23 down to 1,500 for 24.
Animal control, over the past 5 years, what is it average per year?
Well, when we had the contract with the former company, we were paying that out.
Yeah.
And we recovered. And going to the per use, we have not paid $1 since we've been in the per use.
Outstanding.
So other considerations, we will be looking, as we look at year end a little later, we're still running at about $280,000 under budget for this year. Of course, that could change depending upon end of year expenses, things that the board wants to do that were unplanned and or hiring. But in talking with the chief, I've been wanting him to get some quotes on a Tahoe and upfitting it. We have about $34,000 we can take from the forfeiture fund that could make up the difference of that. So if we were to encumber, we'd be looking at about $35,000 out of the current budget. And in DPW, and the director can enumerate this a little more, but the storage containers, we could purchase some box containers or otherwise for storing the bales that are produced by the baler, and as well as line painting machine and some other shop tools. So we're looking at probably, when we discussed it the other day, it was roughly $12,000, somewhere in that neighborhood, maybe a little bit more at this point, but depending on the line painting machine. And then other items, just, other questions. I know that at your meeting of November 2nd, there were some questions about increasing the staffing or if there was additional staffing needed in one of your departments, which I have listed here for land use. And then also with looking at the health officer position, the current health officer position changing to see if if that's going to continue the way it was or if that would be combined with some other position. So those are just some other considerations. And other than that, I will turn it over to Kevin, I guess, for DPW. Unless you have any questions on the overview. So really what you're looking at is, decisions of personnel and the associated costs of personnel.
Thank you, Tim. All right, Kev, you're up. You want to come up here or do you want to go up? Okay, come on up. Yep. You can grab a chair over there. There's a more comfortable one over there.
Here's my mic. It's already on.
Good evening, Director Duval.
Good evening. It's a wonderful time of year, budget. This is nice. Tweak my back. It's all good. Hi there.
Hello.
So like Tim had mentioned, the largest increase is due to the additional crew members I'm asking for because of the recycle facility. Operating the baler with the flow of materials that is coming in currently for recycling, we anticipate the baler operating 3 to 4 days a week to keep up with the volume. And I anticipate on the days that the transfer station is open, we will need a person operating the baler and helping people with their sorting activities, as well as somebody maintaining the gates and helping the residents coming into the facility. And when the transfer station is not open, it's going to be a constant effort to bale the material, get it moved and staged properly for storage. And when the bales need to be moved out of the facility, we'll have to have a person operating the forklift to load trucks in a efficient manner, because as far as I understand it, the transfer trucks, the trucks that come in to pick up these materials, are only given a short window of time for the stop, whether it be an hour or 2 hours. So I have to have a person designated for those activities. And the best way that I could alleviate the pressure or to accommodate all of the work that the PDW is looking at next year is to hire on 2 guys. The normal crew would do our normal route activities as far as parks and road maintenance, normal DPW activities, taking care of roadside edges, ditch lines, building repairs and maintenance, mowing, park maintenance, all of the work that we currently do. That's the primary reason for asking for 2 additional crew members, which obviously trickles down throughout the budget as far as insurance and merit pool raise and uniforms and safety gear. So you'll see that all of those lines increased a little bit due to that, the 2 additional crew members. The other increases are due to just the raise and the cost of everything, from diesel fuel to even fuel, cost of materials or repair items for maybe the building. A 2x4 is almost doubled in price. With the additional building, the recycle building, we're looking at a little bit more maintenance as far as paint, and maybe machine accidentally bumps into the building and we need to replace a side panel, or bumps into the inside of the building and we have to replace a piece of plywood, things of that nature. So I tried to add some money into the budget to account for those things. The second largest increase, or I should say the next increase I'd like to talk about, is the increase in the equipment maintenance and supply lines. The supply lines is due to the baler and the materials that are encompassed with the baler operation, whether it be shrink wrap or the baler string, things of that nature. It right now it's an unknown amount because we're just starting out. There's no way to really anticipate how much of each we're going to utilize this year. The cost of pallets. I have started researching whether or not the pallets are available through NRA at a no cost or no charge to us. So I am working with them closely on what's going to be charged to us and what is not going to be charged to us. Currently, we don't spend money on those things, but these the electronics, the things that we utilize the pallets for right now, NRA handles for us. When we start baling up cardboard and plastics, we're handling that stuff in-house as far as finding an outsource for these so that we can get paid directly and take out the middleman. That's my goal with that, to maximize our return.
How feasible is that?
How feasible is
Taking out the middleman and finding somebody to do that?
direct? It's find somebody direct to deal with. I would consider it extremely feasible.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is the difference in profit?
We don't know that yet.
20%?
We don't know.
30%?
We don't know.
So we bought this machine and went forward into this program without knowing our highest profit margin with it. And it seems like we haven't figured out all our costs for the program.
But we did know what the costs were to keep curbside recycling, which was astronomical, which is why I believe we chose to go with recycling in-house to get
That
away
would have
from the
been cheaper
curbside.
just to let it to go to trash like it is now. Now you're asking for two new hires,
Mhm.
plus the baler,
It's
plus
not going,
materials.
it's not going to trash.
Our recycling doesn't go to trash right
No,
now.
it's still being recycled through NRA.
Well, I can tell you right now, my recycle goes to trash.
Yeah, a lot of people don't avail themselves of the transfer station.
That's right.
I get it. We're not going to recycle at the rate that we did when we had curbside recycling or even the purple bags, especially the purple bags.
Those purple bags are still sitting down there at a
Some of
cost.
them are, yeah.
So
We use them for various things.
what is the projected length of time before we see this paid off?
See what paid off?
The
Baylor?
expense of the machine and the investment.
We don't know. It's hard to project the volume of materials for the first year. It's a trial year.
But you just said the volume is
We haven't,
very large.
we
You're
haven't,
expecting to bail, what, 3 or 4 days a week because of the
yes.
volume?
I'm uncertain to how many bales are going to be generated through these activities
And I'm
currently.
sorry, I'm playing catch up, obviously.
No, they're very valid questions. I wish I had more accurate answers for you, but I don't.
Wasn't the baler on a grant?
Part of it.
A portion of the baler was grant
The
money.
price went up before we
Yes.
completed
So,
the
so a
purchase.
good 80% of it was on a grant,
Yes.
correct? Okay. John, you have a question?
So I might be able to answer some of the questions. The main reason that why we started doing it ourselves was the cost to just pick it up. We're trying to reduce our overall trash pickup. It was getting very expensive just for them to come out and pick up the recycling, the cost for operating that. So to try and save on our whole refuse, we decided that we would go and offer recycling at the town garage there. The bins now, presently, it's not run efficiently the way it's set up. And that's why we went to the baler system and the separating. So when I go down there on a Saturday, there's at least 3 cars in line throwing stuff out, but they're not really separating the things. So that's, once we go and try and market this a little bit better and get the public more aware that they can do this and that's a streamlined system for dropping it off, will reduce that waste stream more. And also, I don't know what the income will be for the actual stuff that's done. So, and that was the idea, is to reduce our overall cost for refuse in the town.
The problem with this recycling, though, is the human factor. It has to be clean. Certain plastics can't be recycled, blah, 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 blah. And I've been to Samerton. I take my daughter there.
That's fun.
Well, and I've watched and I've looked at her and said, that doesn't belong in there. And then there it is. Too late now. So how do we prevent that? Because those bales will be rejected. So you're going to have somebody standing there watching this being put in diligently.
So if you've been to the DPW recently, the building has 3 windows. If people will be monitored placing their items through the windows. And if it's not correct, it'll be rejected. Residents will be asked nicely to put it in the correct spot.
Well, what if it's already thrown in there? Is somebody going to climb in there and pull it out?
Well, that'll be the attendant's responsibility that's watching or working the transfer station. That's why I'm asking for two additional people.
Thank you for that update.
Babe,
Okay.
go ahead, continue.
The next item I'd like to talk about is the building repairs. I wasn't sure where to put these items, so they went on to building repairs because it goes hand in hand. The first one I'd like to mention is the DPW septic system. We'd like to push forward with getting a septic design for a leach field, because I was informed recently that the septic system needs to be updated, compliant.
So you have a holding tank.
Yes, which I learned is not in compliance. Thank you.
Why all of a sudden is it not in compliance?
Well, as far as I understand it, it was never in compliance. When it was first installed, the agreement was within 2 years, the system needed to be on the septic line, the sewer line going to Franklin. And that it was a 2-year grace period for that to happen. And it did not come about.
So you're proposing a septic system rather than a sewer line?
Yes. A leach field.
Why wouldn't we connect to the sewer? I know it's across the street.
Is
But
it
it
though?
isn't.
I don't believe it
It's not
is.
directly across the street. It's
Doesn't
across,
go down
I
that
don't think
far.
it goes down that far.
No.
it's across the street and down to the right.
Correct.
Yeah, but it doesn't go by
It's past,
Public Works.
it's past
No,
KRM. It's
but
down by there, yeah,
it's down, it's
right.
So
in a reasonable distance.
my train of thought, when the geoprobing was done a few years ago, I'm not sure how long ago, but it was proposed to connect the two sections. And it went to town meeting, and it didn't go through because of the lack of people connecting to
Well,
the
that
system.
was the whole project. But I remember when I came on board as a selectman, when the Public Works building was,
Mhm.
it was right at its beginning.
Mhm.
And you're right, the plan was to connect to the sewer across the street, to go under Route 3 and go down and connect to the west, regardless of whatever project was done east of Public Works. So I'm curious why we wouldn't get an estimate for both costs.
If the town of Tilton goes across the street and down, anybody else that connects to the sewer system along the route, do they have to pay into what we've already done?
The way it
It's not like
customarily-
water.
What's that?
It's not like water. I'm
Well,
not sure.
I'm asking that question. So why would the town of Tilton,
Hook into
go
our line? That's our
why would
sewer
we
line.
pay that amount of money to go across the street and then down to tie into sewer, and then allow all those businesses to tie into sewer as well? That would just be a small amount to benefit the town of Tilton, as it
Because
would be an
benefits-
astronomical price for the town of Tilton.
Would
And
it?
I think it would be much more expensive than a leach field.
I don't know. I have no idea. That's why I'm asking. Why wouldn't we look at both? Estimates are free.
I definitely could look at both.
Yeah. I mean, I think we should.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Would that be a public line or a private line?
Public line. Well,
If we put it
The-
in, if we run it from
Good
our
question.
facility all the way down to the existing line, that line would be owned by who and maintained by who?
it'd be owned by the town of Tilton, because you'd be connecting into a line that's owned by the town of Tilton, managed by the sewer commission.
Yeah, but then it would be a public line and anybody else could tie into it.
And that's the whole idea of having sewer, is to get away from people with septic systems.
Hmm.
You're protecting the environment.
That would have to be put forward through the sewer commission, wouldn't it?
No, it would have to be,
The
you
sewer
would come up with a
project.
plan and go to the sewer commission, and this is what I plan on doing, and you'd have to go to the state of New Hampshire, because it's all going to dump down to their facility. But I'm just saying, let's look at the cost of both,
I would definitely look at the cost of doing both.
because the septic system is something that's maintained. There's a
I
cost.
don't think that's a good idea to put a septic system in if we don't have to.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Look at the cost of both. Thank you.
Okay. Well,
Thank you, Kevin.
I figured I would
What's the
mention
space
it
it
as
takes
to the
up?
reason why it's in my budget. The other thing attached to the building repairs is
Well, before you go on, who let you know that the septic system was not in compliance?
it was the septic company that I used for my personal house.
Mm-hmm.
When I approached him, the property that I'm building on has some tight setbacks as far as brook and road and borders. So I asked him if I could just do a holding tank like the DPW has. And he says, well, I'll tell you something. I'm the person that worked on that system back when it was installed, and they were supposed to be attached to the sewer line within 2 years, and that did not happen.
Okay.
That's how I came to know about the information.
Okay. Thank you.
Because I thought there was nothing wrong with it. The last 7 years that I've been here, I've seen the system pumped out every couple of months. So I assumed that it was correct. So
Is that, there was an agreement that they were gonna put in the sewer line or get the sewer
this
line put in.
the state allowed a holding tank to be put in place with the understanding that it needed to be hooked up to the sewer line within 2 years.
Did
And
you ever
I did
research that?
follow
Yep.
up with the state, and that
Yep.
is correct information, even to this day.
Good. Yeah.
So currently, the salt shed utilizes concrete blocks for its borders for the salt sand mixtures. I calculated that I'm actually losing 125 cubic yards of space because of the granite blocking. So what I would like to do this year is remove the concrete blocking that is 3 feet by 3 feet by 3 feet and actually install concrete walls at 8 or 12 inches thick, whatever's design we come up with, and add concrete gussets on the back of the building, because the constant use of machinery in those buildings, it's hard to stop the pressure on the back wall.
Mm.
And having a reinforced concrete wall on the back wall would alleviate a lot of stress. And it would remove the wood and metal building now from that salt environment. We'll get more longevity out of the existing building that we have. So that was a thought that I had this year that I would like to go through with next year.
Making an entirely new one
Not a-
someplace else.
No.
Same
Using the same
place.
one, just building a basic knee wall, a concrete knee wall on the 3 sides to enclose the salt and put the wood and metal above, and having a solid backstop for machinery to work against,
Okay.
as well as gaining 125 cubic yards of material, because removing the blocks, we'll be able to store that much more material inside, useful material, and not have it wasted.
And those blocks move too,
Yes, they're placed in there.
sideways, and you
Yeah,
push out
yeah,
against the
push out
walls.
the sideways, so they're really not anchored in place. Um, I already mentioned the trickle-down effect of the 2 additional crew members, the uniforms and other things attached to the safety gear, jackets and eyeglasses and work boots, things like that. The other large difference in my budget this year is the 30,000, 29,000 that I'm asking for sidewalks. Going forward, I would like to keep sidewalks separate from my regular roads and bridges fund, just so that I can keep track of where money's going. I know that I can keep track of it now, but the way that I like to work is if there's a line item there for it, I would like to utilize that line. And within my budget, there is a line for sidewalks. So why not use that line for my sidewalk fund? I would like to redo the sidewalk on Winter Street, going from, I think it's Peabody Street up to basically the Veterans Home. That's going to need a complete reclaim and construction. That we've patched a bunch of it this year, but it's going to need a lot of work next year. A lot of work to bring it up to standards where it's safe.
But we can't do that unless the state fixes the drainage issues on Winter Street.
The state isn't going to fix those drainage issues.
So my thought on that, okay, is if we raise our sidewalk bed,
Yep.
it will actually keep the water at the edge of the road and direct it into the catch basins where it needs to go. What has happened over the years is the state has come in and done numerous overlay projects, which has raised the level of the bed. Sidewalks are down here, the road bed is up here, and is creating a lot of issues. So really, we didn't keep up with, well, I shouldn't say that. We have different thoughts on how to tackle road projects. Obviously, the state likes to come in and do overlays. I like to come in and do just box it out, reconstruct it, and have it good from the bottom up. Just a little FYI for you, there was 18 inches of asphalt in the south side sidewalk in some locations. That is crazy.
Wow.
18 inches, which equated to having to bring in more material, gravel, fill, to fill the void, so that now we have just a nice uniform layer of asphalt. So that's just years and years and years of just overlay or having a depression and just filling it, patching it. So that was some good information to learn this year.
Wow.
Excited to see what Winter Street has.
So I'd like to tackle Winter Street next year and a portion of Main Street sidewalk, which is from Peabody Street to Chestnut Street. That whole area, that stretch there is failing, and we need to bring it up.
East Main Street.
East
No,
Main
West
Street.
Main Street.
Yes, West Main Street.
West
Sorry.
Main Street.
Yes, West Main.
So what, so we've been putting money aside in the roads, bridges, and sidewalk capital reserve fund
Mhm.
for a number of years. And now instead of taking money out of that fund, we're going to raise and appropriate 30,000 in 1 year. Because obviously the reason we have the capital reserve funds
Mhm.
is to lessen the impact on residents.
So this year, with the addition of Morrison Ave and Grant Street, we ended up spending more money than I anticipated spending this year. That wouldn't carry over to next year.
It would not carry over to next year?
Well,
What's
no.
left?
Well, we're going to end up spending around 60,000 for the first stage, correct?
Yep. And then 104.
And then the 40,000 next year. And I wasn't anticipating spending that this year. We pushed to get those roads done this year, which is great because now it's 2 roads I don't have to do in the future, but it did change things for me next year.
So if for some reason you don't get to Winter Street sidewalk, that money lapses.
Well,
In the capital reserve fund, it does not.
well, that's why I'm asking for this money, so that I can outsource it for a paving company and not do the work ourselves. I'm going to send it out to bid.
But if for some reason we don't do Winter Street next year.
Mhm.
We raise and appropriate this money.
Mhm.
It will lapse.
Right, you lose it.
We'll be
'Cause-
spending it on whatever at the end.
I mean, and
The
that
new
was
police
the other
car,
reason why
but-
the capital reserve fund, because the money doesn't lapse.
Mhm.
Like, how long have we been trying to do the sidewalk on the south side of Main Street?
Okay,
You see what I'm saying?
sure. So what
That's
you're
been
saying
years.
is maybe we should try to increase our capital reserve by 30,000 and,
Mhm.
and take it out of there?
Correct.
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
Because if for some reason there's an emergency
Doesn't
or
happen.
anything else like that, you always can carry it over to the spring and get it done because that money will always be there.
Okay.
And if for instance, if a price comes up and now you're, $20,000 short, well, you can combine that to the next following year into that next year. But you can't, if it's in your budget,
Mm.
you're done unless you have a purchase and sale for that year. uh, You, and it's done within a certain amount of time, but you can't. That's the better way to do it is in the reserve, and that way you always have that money earmarked for that.
And that's
It's
why we have
dedicated.
that fund.
To those three items.
Right, and it's only dedicated for those three. And that's the way it is. And yes, you have to do a little bit of bookkeeping to say, I have this much for sidewalks and I have this much for roads. And that's where your expertise comes in and says, I want to spend this much. Remember, a couple of years ago, you said, well, we'll only put this much in. And we said, no, 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 no. You need to keep it consistent because what happens if a road comes up and needs an emergency repair? This is why, like Morrison, last minute, you added it.
Mhm.
You want to keep that consistent and always put something in the reserve. This is why we have the reserves, so that you don't end up spending $140,000 on a road. Now it's on the backs of the taxpayers in one chunk, 1 year. And that's kind of where we're at. So if 1 year you have 3 roads that absolutely positively need it, and 90,000 isn't going to cut it, you want to increase it, then you have an explanation and a means why you want to do it, then you have an explanation, and if it passes, you've got the money.
The taxpayers get a chance to question it at town meeting.
And we get a chance to explain
That's right.
what the
train of thought.
what their
Correct.
projects are and what
Right.
projects we're projecting out and why we're asking for 30,000 more.
So you'll
Allows
need
us
a
to
nice
outline the project.
presentation.
You're
So-
doing it.
I'll bring it to the floor and he'll do it.
I'm going to admit something really important. As far when I was sitting down to do my budget this year, I've been looking at that sidewalk line for 5 years now. Why is there no money there? What is that for? I want to do sidewalks next year, so I'm going to do that. Maybe I just
It
keep
makes
things too simple.
perfectly good sense. But there's no money
Absolutely.
there because we put it into the capital reserve fund.
Right.
It's just a line that we never took out. We used it whenever and never
Right.
took it out of
Well,
the budget.
the only difference is that if there's something that you absolutely have to get done um, and it's not all that expensive, you could put it in there because a warrant article could be changed or reduced, and it's more likely to change a warrant article as
Mhm.
opposed it is to a change a line item.
Right. If you needed to repair curbing or something like that, that would be something really simple. You
I
had
understand.
little repairs or something like
So
that.
some of it could go into the line item
Right.
and then some could go
Okay.
into the other. So at least you get
Right.
when the project's done.
But again,
We don't have
you
a
have
line
to
item for
intend
highway department
to do it.
projects, do we?
Up for
You know,
sidewalks.
all those
on the
years we
Yes,
spring.
put
but I mean
money
for-
in the sidewalk fund. and
Oh, I
we
guess
never
we do
got
for
any
town building
sidewalk.
infrastructure.
Remember my frustration
Right.
over that?
Right. It was
It's like, are
years.
you
What
going to
was
do
that prior to me?
sidewalks this year? Oh, yeah.
People
No.
thought it was a slush fund
Oh, okay.
because we
Yeah, I know
never
that.
got to do the sidewalks, and our intention was to put that money in to do the sidewalks. Along comes Kevin Duval, we got sidewalks done. So,
Hallelujah.
right, exactly. And now we're getting sidewalks done. But anything in this budget is
Is intended to be spent next year.
in the year.
Yes.
Anything in the capital reserve, you can carry over and put it in
Okay.
again, add to it.
I have a question.
Shoot.
Go ahead.
How much money do you have left in your budget right
Left in my budget, my overall budget.
now? Are you gonna spend all the money that you requested on the items you requested it for?
Looks like
Or are
about
you gonna end up with $10,000 over?
I believe I'm
All
going
right.
to be short this year. I'm not going to spend all of it, no.
because it looks like you've got 128-ish
You spend 82%.
left. Is that right?
So
Am I reading
chances
that
are you'll
correctly?
still have 5%,
Mhm.
depending on how the price of salt and stuff, because that's coming up and you have expenses.
Yes,
You have expenses.
yes.
Certainly. But I hate to raise money, and I've said it every time. I want to raise every penny that we need and that we can justify.
Mhm.
And I don't want to raise a cent that we don't need or that I know is going to. How much will we have left over this year, Tim?
As I said, overall, we're looking at about 280,000 right now. But that's going to change obviously through the end of the year. And, so
Have a
I'd
quarter
say,
of $1 million.
at least a quarter. Yeah.
And I hate raising that money from the taxpayers, from me,
Right.
from us, from them, and then we don't spend it. And I know there's always, we've had this conversation in the past, and it's like, yeah, but what if? And I get it, but I hate it.
Hmm.
So I don't want to spend anything I don't have to spend.
So if
So-
there's something in this budget that says new equipment, or there's something in this budget that says, that's a line item that's pretty hefty under highway,
Yes.
that that's gonna be, like equipment purchases, things like that,
Mhm.
that perhaps we could get it this year and it doesn't affect the taxpayer because it's already affected them last year.
So,
Then that's when you bring it up the first week, the second week in the second meeting, preferably the first meeting of December.
Get your septic system designed. Now,
Pat, that's what we're looking at doing, formulating that list through
Right.
year end. But we also are waiting to see what the rate's going to look like. So
Right, we're all waiting for
knowing
that, but
what we can use.
that's when so Kevin, that's when you have to really start and say, what can I take out of here that we can, possibly get approved by the board
Mhm.
that could take money out of, what from, he's going to formulate a list. Tim's going to formulate a list and then we can approve or disapprove, whatever.
buy your baler supplies.
yes. So there's three things that come to mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly, that's a perfect item.
Yeah. The storage for the balers,
Yep.
for the bales, shop tools for the shop,
Yep,
because you are aware of my intentions for next year. No.
nope.
So
I'm gonna lay that out for me.
sure, I will lay that out for you so everybody knows what's going on. So I decided this is a good year for me to transition away from the mechanics and focus more on the director duties. Now, with my certifications and my state inspection license, I'll always be a part of the shop. But I do recognize that it's getting to a point where I need to transition into more of the director duties. So my intentions are to move one of my crew members who's already shown very good mechanic skills into a more mechanic position. He's going to be a person that I can utilize wherever he's needed, which is pretty great for me.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously my personal tools will be leaving the shop. So the shop will need tools.
Mm-hmm.
And I had come up with a $7,000 amount that would get the shop started with what he would need to continue the mechanics inside the shop. So that's the first thing. So we'll be doing that slowly over the course of 2024, bringing him
now.
up to speed. What's that?
I am now. Well, the more you spend, like, as Joe said,
Mhm.
you've already raised and appropriated this money.
Mhm.
And if you're not going to spend it on what you expected
This
to,
year,
and it's
yeah.
left over, spend it, then we don't
Sure.
have to raise and appropriate. We can reduce this budget.
Sure.
This is what, 8% plus?
Mhm.
So whatever you can spend now, we can reduce this and
Okay.
have less impact on the taxpayer.
That they've already paid it.
Yes.
They've already raised and appropriated it. So whatever you can buy
Go for it.
is a big help.
Okay. The other item is the line painting machine. We have rebuilt the current one twice already. It's just showing its age. It needs to be recycled out, and because the guys are spending way too much time trying to make straight lines and trying to make it look professional job out there. So it's time, and it's not a huge amount of money. I believe it's right around $5,500 to purchase a new one. So those are the three: the storage containers, line painting machine, and the shop tools. So we're
Now,
looking
the
at right around
storage,
15,000.
explain the storage containers again to me. But
So we need dry storage for the cardboard.
got it. All right. I understood that now.
I have priced out the 48-foot box trailers that tractor trailers use.
Yep.
Those are right around $7,000 a piece. It's a rolling chassis. They basically air them up, tow them to your facility, and you park them. That's ideal because we have 48 feet of storage for these bales.
They on wheels?
They
Can you
are
move
on
them?
wheels. Yep, they're on wheels. We already have a loading ramp to back them up to, so it's basically just something we need to purchase and start utilizing. Just things like that.
Who would move
Uh,
the trailers? Would move the trailers? They're on wheels.
The company would deliver it to us. Once they're in place, they're in place.
So you get one trailer and they come and they take it away.
No. We empty it.
It's a holding.
Just a holding.
It's a holding.
Just a holding
space
trailer.
to keep the stuff dry.
Yeah, we would use our multi one to go inside, pick up the bales, and then load the truck that comes to pick up the material.
Okay. Jeannie's got a question. Are you all done, Joe?
No, how is that multi one? Did that transmission thing get rectified?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like new.
Go ahead, Jeannie.
Not a question, just a comment. You recall that one of the things Kevin had as a goal this past year was to learn or to get more involved in grant writing. One of the things we did look into was for the recycling center grant opportunities with the help of Tony Belanger. He pointed us to some grant opportunities. I just want to mention that those are something we should be taking advantage of for the recycling center, because we can, through those grants, get more equipment, like the second baler he eventually wants, signage for the recycling center, that sort of thing. So
Okay. We'll take online questions in a minute after the selectmen have reviewed the entire highway budget.
Pat,
Go ahead.
I just want to clarify to anybody that's listening that we're not trying to spend money at the end of the year. We're trying to reduce next year's budget by purchasing the things this year. So this isn't like
Right.
we got extra money, we're spending it. We're trying to reduce the spending next year. Some people may
Okay.
think, just to clarify that. Yeah.
Right. All right. Continuing on to the budget, do you have any other questions or comments?
I do.
All right, go ahead.
On the electricity line, you've added the baler. And I see as of 11/14, well, 11/08, we've used 3,087, but you've actually reduced it. So you're anticipating this baler's only going to use a couple $1,000 worth of electricity,
Yes.
even though it's three-phase? Isn't
Three-
it a bigger draw?
You would think, but it's only utilizing a very small amount of it right now.
Okay.
The three-phase was forward-thinking for additional balers and compactors in the future if we chose to go with a compactor
Oh, okay.
or regular trash.
Okay.
And salt and sand, how much salt did you have left over from last year?
We had about, I want to say 40 tons. We just purchased 120 tons, so that'll be reduced by about $6,000.
This amount will be? Okay. And sand, I mean, do you anticipate, I know what the Farmer's Almanac says, but do you anticipate, have you heard the predictions for this winter?
Bad winter.
I heard very
Lots of
wet.
snow, very,
Yeah,
very
a lot of
cold.
moisture.
Yes.
Okay. I was just curious what was left over.
Awesome.
Grounds maintenance. So you think the addition of this recycling facility is going to more than double your ground maintenance line?
It's going to be, well, there's going to be more building to take care of, more property to take care of as far as,
But isn't it new?
well, it is new, but the facility, the grounds, as far as maintaining the grounds.
That isn't as a dump. It's not like we're going to be putting in evergreens and perennials.
Well, it's not going to.
I mean, you're just kind of sweeping it up,
A few
aren't you?
flowers might be nice.
I don't
I mean,
anticipate a traditional dump. I'd like to,
Dump. You go there and dump stuff. Come on.
but so have you met me, Catherine? I kind of like a
That's why I
nice.
said that. I watched you twinge.
So
You did me proud.
there's. Well, I'm glad I came through for you.
It was a very neat dump.
Working on it.
But I know I don't understand why all that money just to kind of sweep up and clean up.
Well, that's for maintenance. What happens if one of my guys has an accident and backs into a garage door? It's machinery. It may happen.
Stocks. Tar and feather. Yes, it
Although
may
I
happen. So
have
that's built into this. The unexpected is
Yes.
built into this.
yes,
Okay.
there might be an accident where somebody breaks a window. I have to replace the window because there's going to be double hung windows for the deposit. I mean, there's.
Okay. I got it.
Now, I do anticipate this being a learning year and maybe next year reducing just to weather the storm and figure out what's what.
Okay.
So
So, crew. You currently have a crew of 6.
that includes me. Yeah.
That includes you.
Yep.
Are you aware that since 1993, I think that's the oldest annual on the town's website, 5 is the norm.
Mhm.
I think there were 2 years when there were 6. And a couple of those years, there were part-timers for plowing.
Mhm.
You're asking for 8.
7.
6 and 2,
7. Oh, yeah, yes. And 8.
Is 8.
An entire DPW crew of 8. Yes.
right? So essentially, you have an extra crew member. Why couldn't we get away with 7? The town hasn't gotten any bigger. I mean,
But the town has
theoretically,
never handled its own recycle facility before.
but you said you only need 2 for the recycling facility. So if you have an extra crew member already, why wouldn't we only need 1 more?
Because
But
he's
we've been-
taking one from the crew and putting him in mechanic.
Yes.
So previous to Kevin, we had a director, a mechanic, and 3 truck drivers. And that went on for decades.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Would you like me to speak on that?
So while I'm trying to understand why all of a sudden we need 8, I get it. I get this.
I believe that our crew is handling more projects than past crews have handled. For instance, installing our own granite curbing along the river.
Mhm.
Yes, I know.
Um,
Sidewalks
installing or doing the dirt work for the concrete pad at the police station,
and senior center.
the senior center projects. The crew has taken on more responsibilities over the years, which equates to I need more manpower.
Right, but if the Board of Selectmen would stop giving the Public Works jobs to do, like making a table.
Well, that was extra. That is on my salary. That's on my
I
other
know,
time. So,
I know your talents.
Mhm.
I know what you can do. But what I'm saying is does take away from your time for doing Public Works. And the Board of Selectmen does have a tendency to say, oh, Kevin can do this because Kevin can do this.
Mhm.
There isn't much you can't do. But should we be doing that? Is it less costly to have that farmed out rather than paying the expense of another additional employee? And I
so
don't know the answer to that.
so this year we're looking at refinishing the town hall doors again, which I had done a few years ago, if you remember, which I
Right.
think they still look pretty good. But
Yep.
so what you're saying is I shouldn't bother with doing that and outsourcing it?
Well, I'm wondering, is it cheaper to outsource it rather than to have
No,
that extra employee?
not the front doors, please. Anything but the front doors.
I know.
Thank you.
See,
I'm just
you got to
asking.
stop doing such good work.
Bad example. Let's
know.
go to another
It
example.
was exceptional. You picked it.
Well, this is what came to my head.
Right.
But I'm just saying, I don't know the answer. But certainly the cost of employees is expensive
Mhm.
when you factor in medical and overtime and
Mhm.
So how would you outsource? So I think from what I'm gathering, what you're saying is outsource the parks, outsource work at the senior center, town buildings, outsource what we're doing at any work at the PD or anything like that, or town, or here at the town, town hall, outsource that rather than call on Public Works and have them stick to streets, sidewalks,
to a certain
plowing,
extent. But like I said, I don't know
lawn
the answer to my
maintenance.
question.
So can I
Go
say,
ahead.
when I came on as the director, I had the mindset that DPW encompasses everything within the town. I honestly believe that.
Hmm.
Buildings, parks, roads, sidewalks, and everything in between. So when I get a request to go to the police station to change the filter in the water bubbler, there's no question. I send a couple of guys over and get it done.
You have to send somebody over to change a filter in a water bubbler?
That happened most recently, yes. And you'll
Okay.
FW Web 2 filters over $200 for the filters.
In a water filter?
Yes.
In a water bubbler?
Yes.
I
I
believe
think it was
the filter in
134.
my refrigerator
What kind
is
of
over
police station did we
$50.
I
build?
think it was $134 a piece.
That's in the wall, that bubbler. You're not talking about
The
a
water bottle
freestanding,
filling
right?
station.
Yes, the water filling bubbler station right
there.
outside the dispatch room.
Right,
be
so it's in the
kidding
wall.
me.
It's in the
not
wall,
the
yes.
freestanding.
Yes.
It's the one in the wall that's built into the wall.
Why
By
are we
dispatch.
even picking these kinds of things?
There's,
You price
Oh, my
filters, I
word.
got one at my house.
yeah, trust
It's
me, it's
outrageous a
not
couple
cheap.
times a year.
So when I took over as director, that was my mindset. And you know what? The crew, they had an adjustment because they they just did the roads and and took care of the parks and things like that. But they've come a long way.
Mhm.
They've changed their mindset. They know what to expect or what I expect of them. And even though they grumble sometimes, they tackle the jobs, and at the end of the day, they're actually proud of what they do, what they accomplished. Like the curbing along the river there, that was a tough project for them. but now that they've figured it out, they actually take some pride in it, and they actually enjoy that they did that project. The flowers, maintaining the um, the American flags up and down the street, which I'm not sure if you saw it in my budget. I'm not sure where it is, but I had spoke to Tim about purchasing a bucket truck here in the next couple of years, putting away some monies every year towards it. But with the amount of aerial work that we're doing, and I anticipate continuing to do, a bucket truck is the way to go for safety.
Can't you
Hands
rent
down.
one?
What's that?
Can't you rent a low?
That would be expensive.
And slow.
You
on
do
the
it how
roads.
often?
We just have that
Well,
talk.
Plenty of
what
use
happens
bucket
if
trucks.
because we get multiple reports of flags being damaged or broken, so we actually have to bring a ladder. Two guys go up, fix the flag. It's safer for me to send a bucket truck
Along
with
the
one
road.
guy
Yep.
in a cone. He goes up, repairs the flag. There's actually one on a telephone pole by the intersection of I want to say it's the first intersection that you come to. It's the last one where that flag has been hanging for because we can't reach it with a ladder, and it's not safe to get up there.
Mm.
I can't fix it, and I don't think the town would
Up by
appreciate
Honda. Yeah.
if I bring
Yeah,
my
they
hooks
wouldn't.
in and climb the pole myself and do it.
Mhm.
I'm not going to do that.
Right.
So it sits there. So with the light bulbs that we're having to change and the lamp posts, the Christmas lights, the decorations, the even the shop lights, I need to rent a machine to change the lights in the shop because they're up too high. So my mind was, let's get a bucket truck and we can utilize it for everything.
And if I may, just to answer your question, Kevin, if you recall, we did add it as a proposed item to the highway equipment plan.
Okay.
So if you're on the town website and you go to the Public Works page and you look at the equipment plan, the 10-year equipment plan, it's listed there as proposed.
Mhm.
All right. So moving right along. Go ahead, Scott.
So my take, it speaks to, I think, Catherine's question. My take on the DPW doing these projects is we then have direct quality control. Because if we're not happy with how the door is refinished, we can go right to the source of who refinished it instead of then having to go back to the contractor, have them come back and do it, et cetera, et cetera. So my take is that not to overburden them, but in doing some of these projects, we have the direct oversight of the people who are doing it. And they know that if we're not watching, the public is definitely watching, and they're going to let us know, and we know that.
Mhm. Right. Okay, if nobody else has any questions, we're going to open to online. Please be cognizant of the fact that this is a selectmen's budget workshop and that we only have a certain amount of time before we have the next department head coming in. So keep your questions very concise and to the point, please. Thank you. Next, I think it was Nate that had a question.
Yes, can you hear me?
Barely.
Is this better?
Yeah, it's getting better here. I think Tim's turning it up on our end too.
Okay. So I just had a couple points. One is, do we currently charge for pallet disposal at the DPW? Because we could potentially collect pallets from the public. Maybe we could partner with businesses, like Lowe's and Home Depot, if they, go through and have to dispose of large numbers of pallets. And then I just wanted to say that I agree with Kevin, that the Department of Public Works is what makes the public spaces work, as far as keeping the town nice and functional. And it does pay off to have equipment and skills in house to handle issues at a lower cost and potentially prevent expenses or lost productivity by having to wait for a third party. Thank you.
Thanks, Nate. Very good points. Anyone else?
Yes, Chuck.
Oh, go ahead, Chuck.
Yeah, I just have a question, and I don't know that Kevin can answer it directly, but I'm just curious between adding one employee along with salary and benefits, how much does that equate to annually? Thank you.
All right. Tim, can you answer that question?
I can. Give me 1 second.
And just for Sue, who's taking the minutes, it was Chuck Mitchell who asked that question.
Thank you, Jeannie.
The average for the 2 new positions is $70,000 per year loaded costs. So all
Each,
taxes each. So all taxes, retirement, benefits,
medical,
everything. Yep.
ouch.
Do you hear that, Chuck?
Yes, I did, but I was just curious after listening to the question about outsourcing some things and whether or not we need 7 employees, 8 employees. I was just curious what the total amount would come out to, but thank you very much.
Thanks. Good point, Chuck. Thank you. Go ahead, Scott.
But when we look at that number and then we go back to the removal of single stream recycling and what that would have cost us on a yearly basis, plus the potential, when we had discussed the potential revenue generation specifically from cardboard,
Mm-hmm.
there's an offset there that when we look at it, maybe that gives you a little bit more background, Catherine, because I understand the human error in terms of recycling, but when we were also looking at the numbers of on single stream recycling, so much of that these days goes to the incinerator itself that we felt that trying to bump up, knowing that we were going to have to add an employee or two, that it would easily offset what the cost of single stream was on a yearly basis.
You think we're going to get $140,000 worth of revenue from it?
No, but we saved about 190,000 by not doing single stream.
We did.
Well,
And
yes, but let's not spend it.
And the town of Thornton, Deb had stated that they were making about $100,000 a year when she was town administrator, and they had 2 people in their recycling area, about $100,000 a year just from cardboard and paper products. Now, and you'll see later on when we talk about revenues, we don't have any revenues budgeted as yet, but that's something that I think we could expect.
Okay.
So
All right. And finish it up. Any
Right.
more? Go ahead.
can I answer one of Nate's questions?
Sure. Go ahead.
So currently, if somebody brings in pallets to the DPW for the transfer or to dispose of, we already actually set them aside and we don't charge for them to be disposed of because we do utilize them currently.
Okay.
The pallets
Thanks,
you
Nick.
would need for the bales. Well, a normal pallet, I mean, I'm saying normal pallet, there's really no such thing, but how much do those bales weigh? On average?
On average, the aluminum bale would weigh around 600 pounds. The cardboard bales would weigh around 250 to 300 pounds.
So those would probably, are not a specialized pallet, but I would think the aluminum ones would have to be a little beefy.
Yeah. Yeah. Be
Sure.
a little bit more than 1 inch wood. Probably oak or ash.
Yeah.
Hemlock.
So,
Hemlock. Yeah.
yeah. So I know that I just want to mention, okay, is that I know that this is a transition year for the recycle facility. I'm not opposed to maybe dialing it back a little bit and going with one person to see how it goes. And then maybe in 2025, we hire an additional, or it's maybe what I'm trying to say is I'm flexible. If we need to dial it back and just go with one person for now and see how it goes, I'm amenable to that.
I ask this question every year when the budget comes up. outside of your personnel, if you were to knock off 5%, where would you knock it off out of your budget?
5%.
Mm-hmm. The standard question I ask every department head.
Probably the
Or places.
it would probably be a combination of the building repairs, or the building and grounds maintenance, because of those are the concrete is a I'd like to say that it can hold off for a year. I'd rather not, but if I have to sacrifice something, I would sacrifice that, because currently the building is functioning okay.
Okay. Thank you. All right, that does it for highway budget.
Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thank you, Kevin.
Kevin. Appreciate you coming in. We have about 5 minutes, and Nate is chief downstairs.
Expected he would be up here because it's not a non-public, but I just texted him.
Pat, would you mind if I said one community-based thing
Yep,
that came
that's
across
good.
my radar screen today? So anyone out there, it came across my radar screen today that the Tilton Northfield Food Pantry unfortunately had a supplier back out for turkeys. So they are currently 45 turkeys short for Thanksgiving. So if there's anyone out there who can donate some turkeys to the Tilton Northfield Food Pantry, it would be greatly appreciated.
Thank you. So they're supposed to call Star Murphy?
Star
Or
Murphy, correct? Yep.
in at the Northfield, at the congregational food pantry, so that archways.
Yep.
Right. Thank you. That's really important. I know there's a lot of people on the Facebook that has commented and said that they would, but we don't know how many people actually do follow through.
Yep.
I know of 2 that have. So we're down to 43.
Here,
Okay,
Scott,
Chief.
do you know if it is more cost effective for people to donate to the food pantry versus purchasing birds at the store?
Well, what they're doing, Nate, is that they're only limiting 2, so they cannot buy in bulk. So they're asking the people to purchase a turkey anywhere from 13 to 18 pounds and delivering it there, because they're not able to do that in bulk.
How do we get in touch with
Okay,
them?
so it's not a funding issue as so much it's a
No,
supply.
it's not a funding. No, it's not really a issue with the funding. The people backed out, and so the stores will not allow them to buy in bulk. And so you're only limited when you go to like Market Basket, Hannaford, you're only limited to 2. So Star Murphy is at the Vicky Virgin Food Pantry, which is now being held out of the archways. You can reach her out of there. I do have a telephone number, but I'm not going to
That's
announce it on.
located at the Congregational Church,
Correct.
which is the white church in the center of town.
Right. Yep. So if you can make that available to her, or Northfield Tilton Talk, and you can message her message her and let her know that you're bringing one, then she can cross it off on the list. She needs them on Monday.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks, Nate, for reaching out. Okay, Chief, you're up.
I am up.
We just had to reduce Kevin's budget by 25%, so.
Perfect. No.
You're getting-
To sweat a little bit? Is that?
So what do you got? Kev? You're
Kath-
next.
Catherine's getting excited about that.
I
You
did
can't-
get that when I was coming upstairs. That
I like
he warmed
carving.
you guys up for me. So.
Carving, turkey's carving time, yeah. Thanks.
So the police department is actually, if I'm reading this right, at 7% higher than last year. Am I right, Tim?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right, explain yourself.
Blame myself. You're right. Well, the positives this year would be with the overtime, as you can see, and hopefully with next year we'll have some staffing up, so that will help a lot with that. Last year at this time we were 47,000 in the red over, and this year or right now we're at 2,300. So, and the staffing, I think, is just about the same, if not worse, with everything kind of going on. So moving forward, the next year, we do have a contract, body worn camera contract, and we're looking at trying to get another cruiser, which will be a new Tahoe. So that's that.
You've got that Tahoe here in your budget?
We're trying to move some money around right now, or not move some of it, allocate some money. That would be something for a warrant article.
Well, so
And
what I was thinking was that we would actually encumber the amount that we need out of the budget this year, which would be approximately $35,000, and then use the balance of that we need to purchase the vehicle out of the forfeiture fund, which we received a significant amount of money this last year, and that would be sufficient to complete the purchase between those two. So it would not need to be a warrant article or added to the budget in that case.
that's my correction. Sorry about that.
Can I ask a question? How about the money that's in the fund for the duties? That we have a fund we put aside for that. The detail money, yeah, because that's
So, yeah, that had been depleted last year, down to zero actually. So it has been starting to build back up, but it's not at a sufficient state to really offset. But it could be used
How much
to
is in it,
offset
do you know?
portion of it.
$4,779.
Well, that was as of the end of September. So I think it's around 6,000, a little over 6,000 now.
It was growing.
And how much did we spend money out of that this year already?
Not this year.
No.
No.
We didn't have a lot of details.
Well, we
or
did,
was it
but
just
because-
couldn't do it.
Exactly. So we can't fill those details like we'd like to. So a lot of those get subbed out. And right now we're getting average week. I'd say 15 details are trying to be filled a week, and we're able maybe to fill 4 of those, and the rest of them go to other towns, surrounding towns, which obviously we lose money. So I'm hoping in the next year, with having a couple, an officer back from deployment and some new hires, we'll be able to fill that in the staffing and stuff like that. We'll be able to get that.
Any part-timers that would do it for us? Or?
Probably a good chunk of that is one of our part-timers that does a lot of details already. That would be the plan. Obviously, we hired somebody for part-time and they switched over to another division, I guess you could say. So that would have helped, but hopefully we'll get another officer in there to do that. But that's just one of those things where unless we're having enough people to fill those, they're going to other towns, and that's what kind of stinks. So with those cruisers too, I checked into those, and the the state bid on those. I mean, we've kind of already talked. I don't want to get too much in the weeds, but McMulkin right now they're at 40,000, which is good for Tahoe's.
Yeah.
The Fords are between 45 and 46,000, depending on which one you would go with, the hybrid or the direct V6. So those are actually lower. It's all about how long it's going to take to get those.
Heavy. We're good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Get the presentation already.
Yep. So with the body worn cameras also, we have some things that I need to figure out with a contract. I do have a grant that I'm trying to put together right now with a state grant, body worn camera state grant. And that will help. They do 50%. And then that covers up to 50,000, trying to get more cameras, storage. And then that contract incorporates the tasers also. So
When you're going to find out about the grant?
the last part that I need right now is I have a quote, but the problem is the quote includes the taser because we go with Axon. Axon is taser and body cameras. So I have to get that a breakdown because I can't send that quote that has that. So I'm waiting on Axon. We sent them an email last Friday. We haven't heard back.
Okay.
So I'm hoping by tomorrow, I'm gonna get with the sergeant. We're gonna try to get an answer on that so we can put that in. Overtime, again, we're just cresting over that right now. So right now we left that at 50. And I'm hoping with these new hires that will obviously will be below that next year.
Why would HVAC maintenance agreement be $6,000?
Every year, they come twice a year, and
Yeah.
they change all of the filters. They do all the service on the boiler, the air conditioning, everything in the police department. That's Eckhart and Johnson, and so that's a contract. It was was that a 5-year contract?
This one's, I think, a 2-year. I think it's every 2. Or no, that might be a 5-year.
I think that
is a 5-year.
that's a 5-year, and then they come.
5 years for $6,000 for
I'll check.
$6,000 for the year for coming twice a year?
Yes, because that system is the primary system for heat and cooling for the building. We run, there's about an 18-page report that they provide each time they're there of all the different things that they've done. And I will look up and tell you exactly the length that is.
Tim, does that include the filters and the cost of the filters and everything? So that's,
Yes,
it's all encompassing.
all encompassing.
Yeah. So when they come, we have to go through all the ceilings, all the units, all those standalone units, those Mitsubishi standalone units in some of the rooms, and then upstairs, and then the cleaning the boiler, getting that all serviced for the next season. And pretty much covers everything, and also the 2 units that we have in the Sallyport, but they come and change all those filters. And I think there's 40. I want to say there's 45 filters in that building. Yeah, it's a big building.
And we just heard the cost of the water fountain filter. Right?
So I can guarantee.
Just flip them over and use the other side.
On a good
In
note,
generator maintenance, generator maintenance is $2,000, and that's a brand new generator. So what goes on with the generator maintenance for $2,000?
that's
Once, twice, 4 times? What is it
that's usually once a year, and
for
that's
$2,000?
they come in and service that also. Yep.
Who does that?
Top of my head, it's not Eckhart and Johnson.
Who does it?
I don't recall the name, but it's people that sourced, that's what they do.
Generac? It's Generac.
Once it's in the PD, do we get a chance to outsource it ourselves or no? Once it's installed in the PD, do we get to, I mean, a generator is a generator. Do we get to outsource it at some point in time or no? Go ahead.
So as long as somebody is approved
Right.
service for
I
a
agree with
generator,
that.
then you
Right.
can enter into these contracts with them to, they change the oil, they test it,
That's right.
clean it.
It runs,
do that, and
it
they
starts every
they make sure.
Tuesday,
Yeah.
every Tuesday at 9
But as
o'clock.
long as somebody's approved to service it, you can go to anybody with those.
I just don't know about these things. I'm generally asking these questions for a reason. $2,000 seems extremely high once a year. I mean, you know a little bit more about it. Once a year to come and service a generator.
You can always ask any other, you can look up whoever the
Right.
authorized service guys are for that
unit.
Big
and
take
ask
payday
them for
for
a
them.
price.
And then find out if we still have a contract. I can look into that too to see if we already have, because we're so new in the building. It's like we still might be in that.
Yeah, it's a big generator. I can tell you that it's not your typical generator. The Eckert and Johnson agreement was a 5-year agreement signed by the board in March of 2021.
Is that
And
gas or
there
diesel?
is an exit clause 45 days prior to the end of each term. So as of the end of February, 45 days prior to March 1st, you could terminate it if you so chose. But the board signed a 5-year in March of 2021.
So, Pat, one of the things is you have a diesel engine, so you have to have somebody that's a diesel mechanic as well as the generator service guys. So they do charge a lot. I don't know what the going rate is for, but it's expensive.
And
Yeah.
making sure it's ready in cold weather.
Well, it's worth checking out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does run every Tuesday at 9 o'clock. It does its startup and it runs for about 10, 15 minutes just
Right.
to make sure everything's good, which is great. It's a big generator.
Okay. I had one other question too, was surveillance services and equipment. What is that?
Mango, so the services, and then any equipment, anything that we have, it's a contract with them, with Mango itself. And Mango also does all the keypads at the police department, servicing those. We've had a couple issues with those that you've seen in my reports.
Yep.
For the keypads and then the mechanisms themselves. And then we just had to replace or repair a camera that was in the booking area that went down.
Okay. Anyone else have questions for the chief? No. Joe?
Just what is training materials?
We incorporate that with training itself, but then also any kind of the law books that we get, and any kind of things that we get for Lexus is what it is. So it's the law books and all the stuff for the patrol officers, any of the training material that were needed for officers every year that they get every year.
It's a significant jump, and you probably won't spend $3,000 this year altogether.
You also have the Police One license.
Yeah, police one
and
license.
The
Yep.
LEDA training.
Okay.
And then FBI LEDA, that was the one that the sergeant had gone to. So really, that with the training materials, it kind of encompasses training all together. So it's the materials if we need to buy anything, but the way that it was just written that way. But the police one is where we get all the officers use that monthly, and then also any other money that we have that we don't get classes that I can host at the police department. But with us having a new detective, some new dispatchers, some new officers, a new SRO. We have to send them to those classes again. So we have to kind of get them back up to par, and it costs money. I try to get them hosted at the police department so that we can kind of cut those costs. But That's not always the case. We just had to cancel a class this week because of registration, so.
Anyone else? You got some? All right, go ahead, Catherine.
Electricity.
Yep.
So I see as of November 8th, 14,683. It was reduced to 24,000. Couldn't we cut that more? I mean, is
This
there
time-
something that's gonna go on next year in that building that's gonna shoot that electric bill way up?
I would hope not. I know this time last year, we were at, I think we saved 5,000 is what it was. So yeah, we're at 14,683. Last year we're at 19. At this same time, we were at 19,000. So
Well, and also, if I may, this is usually you're seeing this in arrears, a month in arrears,
And
and then a month in arrears, the expense portion. So you're seeing the billing for the prior period in here. I can also tell you that during the spring, summer is some of their lower amounts that they're paying. The winter time, the electricity goes up significantly.
Right, but this 14,683 is for the past 10 months. Well, in a week in November.
But why would their electricity go up in the winter months?
Heat.
Blowers have to
Yeah.
be blowing all the time.
Yeah, forced hot air in the motors. We had the
Mine
hottest
doesn't
summer in a long time.
because you might get some winters,
Yeah,
I mean, some
so
summers when
with
you're
all
using
that air
central air,
conditioning.
but you're not running the AC and keeping every room kind
5
of cool.
months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With winter, you have to keep all those areas because of the sprinkler systems, everything else. Everything's getting heat a lot more than you would in the summertime with the coolness. And it all depends on what kind of winter we have, but usually heat's heat. It's the AC usually. Sometimes will get you if it's really hot.
I mean,
And with
you're
people
looking
using
at
offices.
a little less than $9,000 for the next 2 months. By that reasoning. I don't think you're gonna use that kind of electricity.
In addition to what's,
Well, if you look at the difference, you got, you know. I think you could cut a couple more thousand off of that.
We would last year we're at 20.
And
9.
not equipment purchases. Where's diesel? There it is. Gasoline, diesel.
well, wait a minute. Let's stick with the electricity first before you go off with that. What does the board think about that?
Oh, I didn't think we were.
Well, you don't have another chance to come with the chief here.
So I think the only thing to do is to look at the degree days over the year and, compare it or even actually contact. Who do we get our source supply from, our actually electric from?
It is.
That's our special.
Yep. We've got
Yeah.
that's NG,
Yeah.
and we're on that 6-year agreement, which is
So-
a great rate.
Yeah, and what I'm asking is, I know Eversource gives you, and they provide you with a better prediction and what your, was this year higher than average or less than average, and they can do a little audit for you.
Yeah, we can
But I think the
definitely look
energy-
at the
They have,
history.
take a look at it.
Yep.
They should help you with that.
I think when we originally set this, we were anticipating that that was good, there might be more play in it. And I would tend to agree with Selectman Dawson that there's probably more that could come out of there, probably another 2,000.
Because we were at 27.2 and 22 is where we were. And then we went up a little bit. I think it's just a new building. This is only the 3rd year. So it's hard to gauge. We're starting to get to the point where we can start to gauge. So we went to 27.2 to 29.9, and we're at 24 now. Or no, we're looking at 24, but we're at 14.
22.
So yeah. So
So you could
I
look
think
at the total
22.
spend over the past, 3 years?
Yeah.
yeah, because this March will be the 3rd year that we've been in the building for 3 years this March. So we can pile that.
Right.
but 22, like
22.
Okay, I think that's worth looking at.
So if you look at the diesel line,
I looked at too.
you
We were down.
You're 15,
Mhm.
656.
Mhm.
I know theoretically you're understaffed.
Yes, that's.
So theoretically, there's less
Yeah.
cars on the road.
Correct.
But do you really think there's going to be that many more cars on the road, or is the price of diesel going to skyrocket?
Well,
Because right now it's gone down a little bit.
that's one of those questions. It's a twofold, really, right?
So a lot of the diesel goes into the generator and that too, and you have to run that.
How
Or
long have we had the
diesel goes bad.
generator?
Well,
Since you put the building in?
Mhm.
that's
Okay, so we're still at 15.
And we
I took
haven't-
my glasses off,
we
I'm
haven't been able
sorry.
to fill that.
Six.
We're still at-
15,
we're- I just looked at it, we're at
650.
3/4.
5
It's
for
big,
10
too.
months.
Yeah, well,
Fill that.
you don't want to keep it that long.
No.
It grows algae and
Yeah.
destroys the thing.
No, I'm just saying, that just by running it every Tuesday at 9, the last couple of years, that's all it's used is, I don't know exactly how big that tank is. But we're at 3/4. Yeah, it's got to be big. It's at 3/4 right now, and I can't remember the last time they came to fill that, is what I'm saying, so.
It's only used 3/4 in the last how many?
Not 3/4, a quarter, sorry. It's at 3/4. Yeah.
In 2 years.
2 years.
Which is actually a problem. Because diesel fuel goes bad and grows algae and all that
gel.
in it. And
Yeah, it does gel, yeah.
it goes bad after, so they
So maybe
make
that's why
sure
you're
they do
maybe
treat it.
that's your treatment, and that's what
Yeah.
the
Like in
service.
this, make sure they're
I
treating
think
that.
they.
or-
That's
with that,
probably it. I would guarantee that they're
Because
treating it and
they-
making
they
sure it
make-
doesn't gel.
Because you're
I have
kind of
2
in
diesel
a.
tractors, I treat it. So you need to
Yes.
treat it.
Yep.
Sure,
I
it's
have a
treated,
diesel
yeah.
truck, so I treat mine.
But
Same thing.
still,
What else uses diesel?
Nothing at our police department uses diesel, just that, so it says gasoline / diesel, I think on that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I always wondered that, but it says gasoline - diesel, so,
so the majority of that is gasoline.
yes. Yes,
So again,
that's cruisers.
if you figure the average and for the next 2 months, you're still looking at less than $20,000. I mean, you're looking at around 19,000 for a year. So why do we jump up to 27.5? We're gonna have a lot of cars on the road.
No, I
One
wouldn't say a
more.
lot, I wouldn't say a lot of cars on the road. I'd say more time on the road. Now with the IMC mobile, officers can do these reports on the road.
Can't they park and do them?
They can park and do them, but when you park and do them,
They
you don't have
should
the
be
car shut
parking
down.
and doing it.
I'm hoping they're gonna park and doing
I
that.
know, really.
Even when you,
I can't talk on my phone, but they can do.
but even when you park and do them, you have to have your car
Car's
running.
running.
You have to have the cruiser on. So, and maybe running radar if they're doing that. That was the whole purpose of being out there.
Okay, but still,
But still.
that's a lot of gasoline.
Trying to
That's
look what we did in
7,000.
22.
What is
I
it?
got it right here.
$7,000
Yep.
more? That's a lot of gasoline.
So we did 19,000
That's almost-
in 22, 19,634. And then this year, it's obviously what, 15?
We'll be right about the same amount.
Yep. And you're looking at 22. I was short people in 22 also, so it's not
Wouldn't
like I'd like to look at a year that
24,000
had.
be a little more reasonable?
Mhm.
Keep it steady at 25 if there are going to be more cruisers on the road.
We're gonna have an extra cruiser on the road next year,
Well,
a Tahoe,
maybe that plus we've got
Maybe.
officers back.
maybe.
Maybe.
Instead of just running one officer when we usually have maybe
Cruiser
2 on a
ferries,
shift.
drop it in.
Now with
you
the
know,
addition of staff and the one who's back, now you're going to have more cars on
Yes.
the road.
that's the
Maybe.
plan.
I still don't think
No, you're right.
$27,000.
They're
Still going to they're going to
Right.
ride bicycles.
You still have the same
Whatever
number of
happened to those
hours, you know.
bicycles?
Oh no,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
We're good. We're good. No, we're good. We were actually just talking about that.
They're sitting right next to the motorcycle boots.
Go there, Joe.
Joe, that was good. So could
Periodically,
we
I like
look
to
at
bring up
cutting
those
that
boots.
gasoline diesel line, a few thousand? I'm thinking 24, maybe 24.5. I think 24 would be fine.
You're banking on OPEC.
Yeah, I know. That's
If
the
all
thing
of a
too.
sudden
I
it
mean,
goes
your
up,
cruiser-
we'll find you money for gas.
You're banking on
Tim is
OPEC.
clicking the pen awfully quickly over there.
Because you bank
I can hear him.
because you bank on
Just
OPEC.
saying.
The prices are down right now because OPEC raised production in October. OPEC drops production, I mean, that's what it depends on.
Well, that's why I didn't say drop it to 20,
I'm thinking.
So
I'm
what did
thinking
you say drop
25.
it to?
24, maybe 24.5.
25.
Do 24.
Keep it flat.
But what?
Keep it flat.
Keep it
at
flat.
25.
I'm okay with that. We'll find money for gas if we have to.
25.
Well, hopefully you'd also have more details too,
Yes.
with additional people.
I never
so-
understood
that's
why
running,
those cruisers
and those are
sit there
running
at a
sometimes.
detail running.
Well,
They have to.
the lights, or you have dead batteries, and then we'll have a battery line in here.
Some of the newer ones might be okay.
It
The battery
that-
expense is harsh.
is. That's
And
the
you
main-
We have a very
you gotta
clever-
keep the
Clever
electronics running.
public works director.
Yeah,
I
well,
bet
it's
he
a
could
radio.
bring
A
up
lot
a
of it
system
ties
like
into
they
the
have in a
radio.
camper with a generator.
All right, what else? Anybody?
I just have a question. Officer stipends, is that the union agreement that has all
Yes.
those
$200 stipend.
miscellaneous?
Boots and
The
uniforms
sunglasses.
and
That's the, yeah, it's
The
a $200,
watch.
that's a
The
stipend,
watch.
that's a
The watch.
$200 stipend that they get.
Joe, the watch.
Motorcycle
Equipment
boots.
purchases.
You
Do you
can't buy
anticipate-
motorcycle boots
You've
for
only
that.
spent $441. Do you
I'm well aware.
anticipate? I mean, I can see that and I really appreciate you reducing that,
You
Well,
need vests this year, right?
ammunition line.
My vest is out. Luckily, who we just hired, that vest is taken care of. I think Ruggles had brought that up, but that was taken care of. So
Wait a minute.
I'm
what did I
assuming
bring
that
up?
PD equipment purchase
Yes.
is kind of a miscellaneous line.
Dad took care of her.
Would-
I mean, I wouldn't say I'm tight, but I am tight. I'm just, as you can see, we don't spend if we don't need to spend. So a lot of these things you're seeing is just, I just don't spend because I need to spend. If I'm buying some jackets right now, some winter jackets from the officers that we've kind of, with some of the money that we have, is it just try to save as much as we can.
Ones that don't have it.
The ones that don't have it.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think we
So
mentioned it to
What is
Kevin.
the equipment purchases line? Isn't that a miscellaneous line?
It's a miscellaneous.
You anticipate the need for something?
With new hires, potentially.
But isn't there equipment covered in weapons, the weapons line and the uniform lines? And then what's the weapons line for?
The
It's
weapons line.
weapons.
Yep. For taser cartridges, for
They need a belt or
recertifying,
anything like that,
ammo.
they need it, right?
No,
Need a gun?
weapons,
I mean,
yeah, if
don't
it's
we
a
have those
holster.
things
but
left
yes.
over?
What's that?
Don't you have those things left over?
What's that?
Equipment, guns,
So if
Belts,
they're small,
blah, blah,
medium,
blah.
large,
Left,
sometimes they don't fit.
right, boots, left, right holster, taser, recert. We have to buy all new taser cartridges and we shoot those practice tasers.
But
off.
that's in your weapons line,
That's
is it
what I'm saying.
not?
So the weapons.
Batteries.
But I'm
weapons
down to
might
the
be on-
$4,000 that you spent
Batteries.
$441 out of
Get
last
started
year.
on that one.
Well, any kind of other equipment too, if I could use, if there's a vest, if somebody needs to buy a vest, I know that we try to get money, grant, and there's money that we put away and try to get things for that.
So that's where you take it out of?
Yeah, and I haven't had to. We've actually
Okay.
bought more vests from other people that have left than anything, or they've paid for their vest. So we've made a little bit of money there. I think like $600 altogether,
Nice.
which is
Okay.
good. So we're not going to use it. We try to, but then they expire in 5 years. So I know we have at least 4 this year. They're going to expire.
But they have, Homeland Security has
Um, yes,
that
nope,
grant,
and
which
that's-
is a 50% match.
So
We get it.
if we get it, look into that.
It's almost guaranteed.
Yeah.
I should say almost.
We'll say
It's
almost
government.
guaranteed.
Don't jinx us.
Yeah.
That's gonna,
Nothing's,
and then
nothing's guaranteed.
the
Yes.
gas prices will go up. And we'll need more motorcycle boots.
Yeah. Right. After we get the motorcycle.
I
So
don't even think we should keep the ones we have.
Yeah.
What's that? The boot?
Those boots.
Oh, I know. They're just sitting up there. I mean, we could
When's your
definitely-
turn
well,
up? We're
municipal,
gonna,
we could
we're
put 'em on
gonna go
municipal
plate
now.
them for
You
you.
know, now that we have that, there's a lot of stuff in there
Bronze.
we could do. And we could,
Auction it, right?
Yeah.
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 Send it out.
We
lamps.
still got one police car down at the DPW, don't we?
yeah, someone hasn't, well, that was the title issue. And
Right,
we
it's
got
a
that-
title
it was-
issue.
Well, we got it back. It was
Yep.
good, but the guy's in Mass. So he's going to come up and pick it up, but because of the title issue, because it was right out on the
I have
title.
not signed one title yet.
What, that one for that car?
Right.
Yeah, no, he hasn't.
He hasn't come
picked it
yet. Okay.
We're giving him this weekend, so hopefully we'll be out of this weekend. If not,
Did he pay for it?
potentially.
Goes to the next
No.
bidder.
Fine.
Just checking.
Yeah.
That's it.
No,
All right.
yeah, because that'd be a different thing.
So can we go back to the salaries line?
All right. Mm.
Here we go. Here we go.
You thought you were going to skip by.
No, I'm ready. What have you got?
So what do you currently have on patrol right now?
Let me get my notes here.
How many patrol officers?
Okay.
11.
Let's see where it's at. So, right now we have 7 patrol officers, but one of those personnel issue. So technically 6. 1 SRO.
Mm-mm.
What we have open. What's that?
She's asking currently, how many do you have?
All together?
Correct. No, currently, right now, as of today,
On staff.
on staff.
Oh, on
now.
staff?
But I was looking at, so I'm looking at what I have here. It says 11 budgeted. You get 5 patrol, 1 detective, open 1 detective, and 4 SRO/patrol. And I'm not sure what that means.
That's 4 patrol officers. One happens to be a SRO, which is a patrol officer assigned to SRO.
Okay, so why isn't that 3 patrols over there with the 5 making 8 patrol and 1 SRO?
Correct.
There'll be 8 patrol and 1 SRO, which would be 9.
That's
That's
correct.
what you're looking for, is
Yes.
8
patrol.
patrol
Patrol
Yes,
with
one
one
SRO.
SRO.
plus 1 school resource officer, which would be on patrol in the summer. So you'd have 9 patrol in the summer.
Correct.
That's correct.
Yes.
So
Thank you.
currently, how many patrol officers do you have?
Currently, well, we have 2 that we hired not last week, but you want exactly right now what we have for
That's right.
patrol officers, and that would be 5.
Does that include an SRO?
Nope.
No,
And Catherine, that's why you see the 4 SRO/patrol was under open positions. It was just the
Yeah, I did see
currently
that.
open.
Thank you.
Okay.
We do have 5, and then we have 1 that is filling in for dispatch right now.
I just,
So that was
with the new hires,
yes.
I wasn't sure how that
right.
worked
for
for the
that.
current. So you're looking for an additional detective and 4 patrol essentially.
Right.
Yes. But we hired 2 last week, so
But the 2 last week, aren't they in the 5?
no. Because I just said that you just wanted what's currently right now as an on duty. We haven't sworn anybody in.
So they would be, the 2 right now are in the open positions. So
No, so you
minus,
actually have 7.
Yep, we have 7.
right.
Yep.
So-
That's what I have.
And
Right.
those 2 new will be patrol.
So right.
Right.
So if you were going to add them in there, we'd have 1 patrol spot open, 1 detective spot open, and 1 dispatch spot open.
Theoretically.
Those are my 3 spots. That's left right now.
Right.
Which is a good feeling because it's close.
When was the last time we had?
I'm sorry, Chief,
9
could you
patrol.
repeat that, please? So I can just update this because I wasn't aware. So you have 1 open detective, then 1 patrol?
Yep, 1 patrol and 1 dispatch.
And, okay. So, all right. Okay, thanks.
And one lieutenant spot.
Right, okay.
When was the last time the Tilton Police Department had,
What's that?
well, theoretically,
2020.
9 patrol officers?
2020.
We had 9 patrol officers in 2020.
We had
Mhm.
8 patrol officers and 1 SRO, which would be 9. Which would be
Okay.
9 patrol
What
officers.
did we
the
have in
summer.
2019?
I'd have to think back. I think that's when we went for that 8th patrol officer, and that would have been
What did we have in 22?
in 22. Oh, geez, you have to
So
ask
for
me.
1 year, you had
I think 4.
that amount. Okay.
Yeah,
I can look up the history. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I can
didn't
get
mean to
that.
put
Oh, I
you
can
on
get.
that.
No. I actually went back and looked at all that. I actually was with being low numbers, I wanted to make sure with that 8 and then the SRO was a 9, and before I got ahead of myself, and I did go back and look when we had that, and it was in 2020. It was just before everybody left, 2020 to 2021.
So 1 year.
But I would have to look, but I'm almost positive that's when we got that 8th officer was in that 19 into 20.
Tim, what was the figure you used for the patrol officers to calculate this wage fund?
Well, and as I said, I knew there was some activity, but the chief and I haven't had a chance to sit down to review the wage rates for the new hires that he was discussing. So I would expect that.
But to get to the 667,000,
Well,
368 figure, what did you use for a
Well,
wage?
there are numerous wages
I would
based
assume it
on
would
the
have been
open
an entry.
positions. So I'm not aware.
For the open positions, how much did you calculate for a wage?
Well, there are various amounts for the
For a
various
patrol
positions.
officer?
Well, that's what I'm saying is that I have not been told what the wages are. So it was whatever the wage was that was left as an open, an open
Oh, I see
position.
what you did.
So
this could be
so
high.
the person that left
It is
was
high.
marked as
It
open.
could well be high.
It is high.
It could be, right,
I know.
especially if they're new and new to law enforcement. So that's what I said in the very beginning, that more than likely the wages will come down some depending upon the length of experience. And as I said, the chief and I just haven't had a chance to sit down and review what those are.
And we'll
But-
know in the next few weeks how it pans out with the officers that are coming in. But also, even if we have a few more in another month or so at town meeting, we can also reduce this as well if we fill more positions.
Absolutely, right.
Right.
So that was 19. I did find that.
Thank you.
So 2019 was when we went for that 8th officer, and it was approved. And so we had.
Catherine, do you have any more questions for the chief?
No, thank you.
Anybody else have any more questions for the chief so I can open it up? Okay,
Just the vehicle maintenance. We've kind of phased out a lot of those Explorers and that need a lot of maintenance. And that I see it was at 21,000 where we only spent 9 so far.
Yeah, I mean, that's just on the safe side. We did get rid of the Crown Vics, but we still have 2 Tauruses that are dispatch, or detail. And then we have 1, 2, we actually got it right here. So right now we have the Mitsubishi, and then we have the 3A. So when you go 3A or 13A, 13D, 13B, those are 2013 cars. So we have a 3D with 158, the 3A, which is 13A, but I just call it that, 148,000. 13B has got 140, 14A, 108, 15 is 119, 117 on the 17A, and 114 on the 17B. 18 is just under 95,000 miles. The 2 new cruisers are about 30,000. So you have a lot of cars that I would say sit. I have a lot of cars that are over 100,000. I'm just giving you mileage. I'm giving you hours idle time. I did that last year. So with that being said, I know we had to get a transmission for one of those Explorers, and a newer rebuilt transmission. So a lot of those vehicles are just on the safe side to make sure that we have the money in there just in case until we start to cycle those out. Because
I think some are more maintenance
we have
requirement.
all-wheel drive. Yeah, that does a lot.
I think the Explorers were hitting a lot of maintenance mile.
Yeah. So that's why we have brought that down every year. We try to bring that down when we see where it's at the end of the year. But I mean, we could lose 3 transmissions next year with those cars. We're still using those cars. Those cars are sitting there. And the worst thing for a car is to sit. We try to rotate them and use them as much as we can. But we're not burning through that money. I mean, I think I've given back several
Kevin
years.
looked
several
at that
years.
too, or
Oh, yeah.
what he thinks is
And we've,
realistic. He's the hands-on guy with those.
yeah, and I went to him last year and we dropped it down a little bit, but he's always wanted to, we want to keep that in there just in case. And again, we don't, a lot of it, I think even
I
last
hate
year.
just in case budgeting.
I know, but with those
Makes me
cars.
uneasy.
Tim, what's the average money that we underspend the budget each year or overestimate the budget each year, depending on how you look at it?
Well, in recent history, it's been significant, and that's because of the budgeting for hiring and then the actual hiring during the year.
Right.
And so I would say somewhere in the $200,000 to $400,000 range each year, and it's been primarily, again, I would say largely at or the majority at the PD. And one year we did actually layer that in during the year so that it was less impactful, but we still ended up at the end of the year with a significant amount.
Thank you, Tim.
Okay, gonna open it up to anybody online.
Yeah, if no one else is going to speak, this is Chuck Mitchell.
Go ahead, Chuck.
Yeah, I understand maintenance contracts, both for vehicles as well as for appliances and things in the home. And I understand that the maintenance contracts, it may very well be at the police department for the generator and such, but I generally, even according to Consumer Reports, most of these maintenance contracts are generally in favor of who offers the contracts and not in favor of the homeowner. So I would just suggest as a whole, any kind of maintenance contracts that the town enters, you might take a quick look at, especially if we have the employees at the town garage who are willing to do a lot of the services. Thank you for my input. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Chuck. Anybody else online? Okay, thank you very much. I have one question for you, Chief. I ask all department heads if you were to knock off 5% of your current budget that you're proposing, where would you take it?
I can knock off 5%. Good question. Well, I'm hoping, I would say the vehicle, I would say the vehicle maintenance. Much I would like to say also the uniforms, but with not knowing when we get to full staff where that's going to be at, and I know I'll take that chance, but
5% is like $100,000. So
of my whole budget, is that what you're saying? The whole budget? No.
Yeah,
whole budget.
Okay.
right.
How do you get 5% off your bottom line? That'll keep you awake at night. You can start thinking about that.
Yep.
Well, I mean, if you look at the budget in the last 2 years, the last year and then this year, and I was new to it last year, and it might be, I'm new to the budget. It might be a lot of things that I don't know. But again, I don't overspend. I try to keep under, and every time you look at that budget, it's glaring when you see a lot of those percentages that are used. I know this is a little delayed, but you have 45, 40%, 39%, 40%, 22%, 44%, 49%. And you go through and you see these percentages, 38, 38, 57, and we have a month left, a month and a half left. 28%, 23%, 11%. Is a reason why those, I could sit here and look at this budget and spend and try to just, but it's not what I'm trying to do. I appreciate everything this town has done for the police department with the new cruisers, with the building itself, with all the new equipment. So, I would say to slim that down is keep tracking the way I'm tracking every year and making sure that I stay under that budget. So I'm giving back, giving back, just like the town back. I'm giving back because I'm not using that money. So I'm learning as I go, and I could, any advice be greatly appreciated. Um, and I hope moving forward too, also with the cruisers, getting our cruisers, not having the older fleet, and then also officers and getting more time in the new building will help to kind of focus and narrow down some of the areas that I could really slim down that budget and make it palatable.
You passed.
Hey, just one more thing.
Go ahead,
In the
John.
past, we've been able to get different, whether they're automobile dealerships or anything else to help out with that. Various areas. We had our Cellbrite was paid for many years, and other things like that. That's
Yep.
um,
To try to offset that. I mean, some of those things too, like I just put in for a $3,000 grant that was from Walmart. I just got approved for that. And that's going to help with all the events that we have. I got approved for that. We did that last year also. Tango is always generous with giving money. So we're not using a lot of that money. They want to give back to the community. They want to help the police department in return. We put these events on and do these things. And it's not spending out of our budget. It's money. But I can look into, Cellbrite. I think Tim had told me that the 3M used to help with that. So
Yep.
that's something to look at.
yeah, because a lot of times, if they give those things, we want to use them towards our budget as opposed to buy something, extra on it. I think it's going to be a tough year.
Yeah.
Just remember
Every
when
year's
you,
tough.
Chief, just remember when you get those, we need to make a motion to approve.
Yep.
To accept them. I shouldn't
accept
say
them.
not approve them, accept them.
Yep.
All right.
That just came in yesterday. I took today off, but it was in.
Yep,
So
not a
you use some
problem.
time.
It's not an official meeting anyway, it's budget.
Yep. And I also wanted to say, with that new 3-year contract, I did look at those numbers. We talked about that. So with a 3-year for the newer employees and newer hires, they roughly use an average of $6,000 within that academy time because we have to use that.
Oh, yeah.
But you know what I mean?
Right.
Where before we didn't use that. So I did run those numbers. That's average what we did the last 2 that went to the academy in
okay.
overtime.
Yep.
So I just peeled those at the PD right now.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, we're all set. He's not coming in with us later, right? No. Okay. You all set with us until next week or
Should be
whatever?
good. I should have some
Okay.
more stuff. I'll just figure
Everybody?
out swearing in for next week.
Next
too.
week?
December 7th, I mean.
Okay.
A
I
date
don't know if we're
which
having
will
Thanksgiving
live
dinner
in
here.
infamy.
Right. December 7th is you're planning the swearing in?
Say December 7th.
Just,
We'll have to talk about that.
I don't know. You just said swearing in.
Yes,
I
it's
just couldn't.
Yeah. When is the next meeting?
December the 30th, but it's budget.
Yeah.
And so the next one after that would be the 7th.
Yeah.
So you gotta let Jeannie know whether it's a go or not, and we gotta fit it in.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Because
Sound
usually
good.
we hire them and then we get them in 2 weeks after, so we have to get them to the PD but I can let Jeannie know exactly when that's going to be. I'm still waiting for paperwork back
Yep.
from one of them. So
Okay.
all right.
Yeah, and we've got to talk about that one too, right?
Mhm.
All right.
I don't have that paperwork yet, so
Okay.
that was not produced to me today. So all right.
Right.
Thank you, Chief. All right.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Okay. These are just a little bit of tidbits before we go into a non-public, but we can't talk about these before our next formal meeting, so they have to be brought up. Most importantly, Christmas parade and candy. Do you want me to go out and purchase the candy for you folks, and so get your arms moving there? Who's going on the town, and how many folks are going to go with you?
I definitely want to go in the parade.
Yeah,
What
plus
day?
one,
What day is it?
Yeah, +1.
December 2nd, Saturday,
I think I'll bring
Just
my
check something.
grandson.
grandson. 2, yeah, oh, that'd be fun.
Should be big fun.
What about your granddaughter?
Well, if I can +2 it, I'll try that.
Oh,
All
absolutely,
right, good enough. See,
absolutely.
Hazel's been. Hazel likes it. I know
Well,
it.
we'll be there
All
to
right,
handle it.
all right.
You too, okay?
I'm in.
And Scott, so
Yep.
there's
So we'll have a pickup truck.
4
with
plus
it.
2, okay. All right, so you're okay with me going out and buy the candy and
Yeah.
do the bags? Okay. We also were
You get
informed,
good candy. Some of the candy you've come up with in the past, I wouldn't eat. That's right.
okay, we'll get it. Don't worry about it, we got
All
it.
right.
Good night, chief. He's smiling,
I'll
get new,
even
good
kick some
candy.
money in if we're short of money.
We, never mind, I won't say it, never mind. Uh,
You were
nothing,
just talking about cutting the budget. Now you
nothing.
want more expensive candy.
Uh-huh, I knew
I
that.
was willing to give
I
money
knew
out of
you'd
my
catch,
pocket.
as you do, yeah, okay. We need to, we were informed today that we need to order a new ice rink for the liner for the ice rink. Can we please approve up to $1,000 for a new liner? Of course, it's up to. We had to talk to Kevin because we don't know the thickness and whatever, so he wasn't not available to figure out exactly how much it was going to cost tonight, but we're not going to have another meeting and it might be snowed by then.
Yes,
Yes,
people like that rink.
yes, they do, and he wants to get a new one for that.
Yep.
Yep. Joseph.
Well, not that it makes any difference, but I've never seen the value in that ice rink.
I've seen,
Just haven't seen it.
I have.
Since it's been over, the police station's been in, it's
Yes.
picking up a lot
Yeah,
of
it's been
use
picking up an awful
in the
lot.
parking
Yep.
lot there.
Yeah.
Okay,
Has made a difference.
so that consensus
Okay.
is yes. Do you need a motion? No, okay. The December 7th meeting, we will have a public hearing to accept $19,029.76 from the state of New Hampshire for the FY Special Block Grant A. And also, we have a invitation for the social and cocktail hour. Please join Tilton Northfield Fire and EMS Service Celebration and Holiday Get Together on December 7th, which is our meeting night.
Perfect.
Well, there you go.
Well,
I
if you
think
wanted to
I'll be
change it to
off.
the 14th, you
I
can
think
do
I'll
that.
be off on December 7th. I'll be sick that day.
Yeah, well, do you want to change our meeting to the 14th?
Let's change it to the 14th.
I would like the opportunity to go and show our support. It's not going to be upstairs at the.
No, it's at the
Lockmere
Lockmere
Country
Country
All
Club.
right. Because the last time I was up there with a group of people, I had to leave because I felt fearful. There was 150 people up there on the floor, like bouncing.
Okay, are you folks all right with that? November 14th?
December 14th.
I mean,
December.
no, yeah, let's go November. Back up a little bit. December 14th. You okay with that, Jeannie? You okay? All right. So we'll back up, and on December 14th, we'll be meeting and have a public hearing to accept the state of New Hampshire block grant. And so we're going to change our meeting to December 14th to accommodate this
Cocktail party.
cocktail fight. Everybody going? So 5
I've already
RSVP.
RSVP'd. I'm on the budget committee for the fire district.
But you weren't coming to December 7th anyway. Oh, okay. Hope they got Sam Adams gold. Okay, so that's
Oh, yeah.
that's the little tidbits that we have.
Could I bring up just one thing?
One thing.
I had a phone call. So we had a meeting a few weeks ago with our committee members on communication. And I had a member of one of the land use boards request that when the applications come in, and this was always done in the past, I know Dari did it. But when the applications come in, whether it's for zoning or site plan, that they be sent out to the Conservation Commission, the Planning Board, and the Zoning Board, and not wait until the meeting has been posted. Because after all, once we get an application, it becomes a public document. And I don't think one of our land use board members should have to use 91A to get one of those documents. So if we could ask our land use coordinator to send those out as soon as possible
Wasn't
after
that one of the recommendations that came from that meeting?
Yes.
Jeannie?
Well, it was, but I think planning and zoning boards isn't that their purview to say what their process is?
It's a public document. If somebody wants a copy of it, and especially if it's one of our land use board members, they should be able to get a copy of it when they ask for it.
Oh,
So it's
sure.
a simple
And-
thing,
Right, and if,
rather than just accommodate one. If the land use coordinator would send it out to all of those members, they're all going to get it at the same time and be on the same base.
I think it's a simple request that
I
we
think it is
just
too.
ask the land use coordinator to send it out when they send it out to the papers and
No.
everybody.
When it comes in,
When it
because
comes,
by the time it gets posted in the paper, it can be later. And the reason they want it, and I was on land use, you need to do your homework.
Mhm.
When I was on
Site
planning,
visits.
I would always visit the site. Joe knows. So if you have that ahead of time, especially if you work, you can make arrangements you have time to do these things, to investigate. You're much more learned when you go into the meeting. I think it's a win-win.
it was just a slip of the tongue. You kind of knew what I meant. Yes, I'm in agreement with that.
Yes.
Anybody else?
Well, I attended a ZBA meeting,
Mhm.
and there were documents that were presented at the meeting. It was the application for the rehearing, and it wasn't available online. I came in here, and it just wasn't available. So for the public to see it, they want to know what's going on. It should be at least posted online, and that wasn't posted at all. So
So that's
Okay.
another issue.
So are we in agreement with what Catherine is asking?
Yes.
That's my
I
question.
am in agreement.
You are.
have them available
Scott.
online.
Yes. Not online, sent to the people.
Sent to the planning, but John brings up a separate point that for the general public, if they were put online when they came in, I mean, like I said, it's a public document. The minutes received by the land use coordinator, it becomes a public document.
If it's not online, you don't know it exists, so you don't know if you should attend. And presently, the ZBA doesn't get their packets mailed to them. Everything's available to them online, and the packet is given to them at the meeting.
I think that was a request of the ZBA members.
So the public, abutters and all that, don't have information on these
Some of
things.
the ZBA members.
The public and the public as well as the abutters that might have a say in it don't have access to any documents.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good point. Right.
Everybody should be on equal footing.
So I think we
Okay,
need to
so
have
if
them
I'm
put
hearing
online
you
when they're here.
correctly, we want as soon as Leanne gets information, it's being sent out to zoning and planning immediately.
Applications, yes.
Applications out immediately. And also, the application is posted online for viewers and anybody that wants to see it online. Am I hearing that correctly, everybody? Documents with accompanying documents, correct?
With accompanying documents, yes.
Everybody in agreement with that?
Yes.
If I could add, I would like to see that also included with the Conservation Commission.
Yes. That's my fault. When I think of land use, I think of conservation automatically.
All right, everybody in agreement with that?
All three
Yes.
boards.
Also, all three, planning, zoning, conservation, automatically.
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
you're hesitant? Okay, yes,
No,
you got a
I
yes.
see the value in it, but I'm a yes.
Okay. So that's unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay, then Jeannie, you have something?
Yeah. So you recall that Cindy Yansky was in front of this board to talk to you about the Concord-Laconia connector bus route.
Mm-hmm.
So they've had a little bit of a snag, is what she says, with the new commuter bus route. They weren't able to get permission to have a bus stop at the Market Basket Walmart property. So they're looking at alternatives. And I asked Kevin, they had suggested the sidewalk along Sherwood Drive has potential. And I asked Kevin what his thoughts were, and he agreed that would be a good place. So I just wanted to bring it to the board to see what your thoughts are.
What
There's
about
a,
the bank?
that's a terrible idea.
What about the bank?
That,
The
that,
long ways from Market Basket for somebody who might be.
That wasn't the sidewalk.
so
Grocery.
Market Basket doesn't want them to be dropped off at Market Basket any longer, or Walmart. And so now the predominantly you have seniors mostly that ride, or disabled people riding that transit. Very few are among us workers. To Sherwood Drive, you have to consider the traffic and the tie-up of traffic getting people on and off on that Sherwood Drive sidewalk. And then you have to consider them in the traffic where there's no sidewalks walking to Market Basket and to Walmart. There's got to be a better solution.
Yeah, Walmart and Market Basket let them stop in front of the store.
Is
Why?
there-
I don't know.
What about,
I don't get that all of a sudden.
I get it, but talk about it non-public. But I,
did they ever think of approaching the leaseor or lessor for the Hobby Lobby and Staples? That's a parking lot that is rarely.
but they're not going to get their food and groceries from there.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's
Yep, yep,
the
yep,
issue.
okay,
People
okay.
are being dropped off to get food and groceries and the necessary
Medical.
Medical stuff, got it.
supplies and prescriptions and things.
Hannaford?
You know, they already make a stop over there, but
gonna
that's
stop
from
at
the
Hannaford.
Franklin. There's certain stops along the way,
Yeah.
and so for this demographic here, they would be like a Market Basket. So, and on the way back, they would drop them back over here in this
So is
demographic.
Walmart allowing them to drop people off there?
Nope.
Well,
Mm-mm.
Get
Nope.
it.
So
any property around there, like you said, to drop them off at, even at the bank, it's a
I
long
would
walk.
suggest even at the bank, but I would suggest the bank because I think that would be a win-win for the bank. You know, there would be an area there where they could pull in safely, but still, the residents that ride the ridership, I should say, not residents, ridership, would still have to cross over,
Mhm.
and that is a very, very busy
It's
busy
hectic.
road.
Who owns the little connector road between,
Market, it's a private road. It's
That
not
one?
us. Hmm.
so the road between the Sherwood Drive and that entrance
Yeah.
is private? We don't plow, we don't
Market
do
Street.
anything?
No, we don't.
It's
To Market Street.
Not the one that goes all the way down, but the one
Right.
between.
The one that goes from Sherwood over to Market?
Yeah.
I thought we took that by eminent domain.
You sure
Because
that's
they
our
wouldn't
road?
allow it.
Market Street from Route
No.
3 down to Market Basket
We don't
is
own that road.
private.
Yeah.
But I thought the connector from Sherwood over,
It's called Market Street.
What's the one down from Route 3 to Market Basket?
The
And would the state liquor store
Marketplace,
allow
I think it's called. Hold on a minute, now I will.
off at their curb?
It still would be a long way. Even the state liquor store is leased from Market Basket.
Correct. Yeah.
You can't get them close enough to make it safe or reasonable. Think about winter.
Oh, I know.
Rainstorm.
I mean, there's cutouts along Sherwood Drive.
There's actually no, I mean, well, at least on what I'm looking at, there's no name on that.
Okay, so
Connector
it
off
is,
Route 3.
did you say Marketplace?
I don't know the names of them. I know there's one that goes down from Route 3 to Market Basket. And then the one that goes from that street over to Sherwood.
It's called
Oh.
Market Street.
I stand corrected. Market Street is a town road.
That's what I thought. We took it by eminent domain.
Market Street is a town road. So I got the list
So
of
could
roads
we-
here.
The connector road from Sherwood Drive over to Market
Is a town
Basket
road, yep.
Way or whatever.
But even if we dropped them up there, they still have to walk all the way down to Walmart
But it,
and all the way
somebody,
down to Market Basket.
Right,
In the slush.
yep.
well, you know,
So I mean,
Some-
it doesn't sound like it's going to work. If they're going to ride that bus, they're going to have to shop at Hannaford's. Or take a ride into Laconia.
well, the other thing is that's also nice for it is that it provides income and job opportunities for people who would be dropped off there
Right.
and can walk to work as opposed to have to walk all the way to work or ride a bike all the way to
That's
work.
true.
So it does have a purpose for employees and building jobs.
Then maybe we're back to looking at the bank. Because somebody who's able to.
The banker cut on that one street there, right in the middle. You know, bump out or something.
I don't really know what the name of that is. This was, I spoke with Leanne on this one. This was brought up because Cindy Ansky had emailed me. But it's, you can't let people off on a sidewalk and then expect for them to have for safety.
No, but as I said, you could have a lot of those places to hire youth and younger people and people that don't have cars and transportation
So are
that
you,
would have to walk
Right.
normally the whole way or not have a job, and that it could be a very viable.
so you just want to put a sign on the door and say, we're going to drop you off in this place, but if you're elderly,
I think talk to her and
Right.
see what she says. What do you think?
I
I
sort
know.
of agree.
Sure, this bus is about
People can't
moving
get
around
jobs.
seniors and people with disabilities.
Not
not a
necessarily,
public-
no,
Not
it's a
working,
it's a work
Because-
Oh, it's the
transit.
other
Yeah.
it's the
one.
connection.
Well, it's both,
Concord to
Joe.
Laconia on that.
I've been off
it-
that committee a while.
Tim has one more item, and then we have to move on because we got a schedule to adhere to.
I just have one thing that's
Well, it's
time
Tim,
sensitive too.
Tim first. I already called on him.
Okay, just very briefly, item 3 in my report was regarding a discussion that came up at the board and commission meeting, and then subsequent to that, I was contacted by a professional in town who has great credentials in the IT field, and we had a very lengthy discussion about infrastructure and all sorts of different automated processes and so I had some ideas about how he might be able to help me in the future do some evaluation of some products that we might look at as a future direction that would be brought to the board to discuss. And more, starting out more with a framework and then looking at, the types of things that could be implemented and then, getting into more of the nitty gritty evaluation of products. So This would really be a first quarter start, but I did want to get the board's approval to just move forward with that. And I'm very pleased that he's indicated that he's willing to volunteer his time. And I think it would behoove us to take advantage of that.
Yes.
I think under your direction and spearheading.
I'm all for the extra help and taking the burden off of you, but I'm really not excited about the website changing. So that's my own personal opinion, because I can navigate it just fine right now.
I agree with Pat, but I would defer to
Okay.
Tim. If it works for you, it works for me.
Well, we'll
The help, the extra
Right.
help. I agree with Pat on the website.
Okay. All right. Well, believe me, there's not a lot of time right now for anything, and but it'll be a start of a process, and I certainly welcome the help.
Yep.
Thank you.
Are we going to talk about the Porter paving contract?
That's not the budget, is it?
So,
Before you
Time
move
next
on, could
week.
I ask a question?
yes,
Okay, this is Chuck Mitchell. With regard to that bus route, I don't think that Market Basket could do anything if the bus were to stop and release people out at Market Basket. Uh, Anybody can get out there. The only question might be as a pickup point. Thank you.
thank you, Chuck.
He has a point.
Mm-hmm. That's a very legitimate point.
That's not the way the bus works, though.
Oh,
They don't
no.
just randomly stop places.
No, they need a stop. They need a pick up point and a stopping point. Place, I should say, not a point. Okay, the time being 7:11.
Pat, I do something I asked for.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right.
Yeah.
I stand corrected.
So I guess the DOT just started drilling in the road, didn't notify the police department, didn't notify anybody in town, blocked off Main Street back both directions with no notifications. And going forward, there's going to be a lot of this. I think we need to send a letter to DOT and Executive Council saying we need to be communicated with on this. It's for safety and all that it's going to keep happening. So we have communication with DOT and have them do it. I don't know how you feel, but I think that's
I think
I
they
heard
should at least
complaints.
contact the chief and let him know that this is going to take place. They don't have to have a detail.
Were you
They
notified,
should let the
Jeannie?
chief know.
No, I just saw that it was happening. I sent an email and asked, and I forwarded the response to the board.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know if that's a consensus. We want to ask them, make sure that that happens.
I think it would be nice for the municipality to know.
They're going to block our main route through town.
Right. I agree.
Should we have the chief contact them? Or should
I
we
think
send a letter to
selectmen.
the director?
Send a
I think
letter
it's
to
a-
the director.
I think the board should send the letter to the director. I think that would be
Director, which director, who?
the
Is it
DOT.
District 3 doing the work or is it?
Well, we got to go above District 3 because
Well, I was going to say, I would CC
I said-
District 3.
I said DOT, not District 3.
But if we're going to send a letter to the commissioner, we should send a
We should
CC
copy a CC
to the
District
director,
3,
District
correct.
3.
Yep.
Good point, John.
Right, because it was kind of like found money and boom, they took advantage of getting it done. All right. Anything else? All right. At this time being 7:14, I make a motion that move into non-public per RSA 91A:3, the dismissal, promotion, compensation of a public employee, or the disciplining of such employee, the investigation of any charges against him or her, unless the employee affected has a right to a public meeting. 2, request that the meeting be open, in which case the request shall be granted. And That's it.
Ruggles second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Roll call vote.
Jessamine, yes.
Ruggles, yes.
Scanlon, yes.
Dawson, yes.
Constantino, yes.